and he is Billy King. How was your All-Star break, by the way? How'd that work out?
Was there an All-Star game? I think I did make it over there Sunday for the game, and then I jumped on the red eye and came home, and this is more of a great All-Star break for me.
Does this whole deal renew your faith in some ways in the system, the way things are set up? We live in a society now where it's Twitter, it's blogs, news is being poured over minute by minute, yet this deal suddenly comes out of thin air, out of left field. You working with a friend of yours, Kevin O'Connor, the GM of the Utah Jazz. To me, this was an old-fashioned, old-school, two guys talking basketball and making a deal, consummating it, making it happen. Your assessment of just how the business part of this went down?
Well, I just think what it was, Kevin knew what he needed if he was going to trade Darren, and I knew what I would want to give up. So I had been thinking about it. I think Kevin had been thinking about it, even though we had not discussed it. And so when we presented it, he looked at it, okay, this is fair. And we presented and talked about a couple of things, but all of it, including Darren. And then we got to the point where I think he felt comfortable to talk to his ownership. I felt comfortable talking to mine. And they both signed off on it. And I think in the morning they wanted to sleep on it. And they woke up and said, let's do it. And did the trade call. I think when I called the league, they were shocked.
A lot of people were shocked, Billy, myself included, I think. Let's talk a little bit about any business transaction. You've been doing this a long time. There's an upside, a reward side, and there's also a risk side in a transaction. Evaluate for us what's going through your mind when you're making this decision over a 24-hour period of time in terms of comparative reward to the risk in terms of his contract and how you're going to keep him, and what goes through your mind.
You know, I really didn't look at, you look at the risk, but I looked at the fact is we have a great story here. As Jay-Z presented when we were talking to Carmelo, he looks at it as a no-brainer. I look at it as a no-brainer, and I think Darren, at the end of the day, will look at it as a no-brainer. I think once you get inside and realize what we're about, you see Brooklyn, you see the arena being built, you see everything that's going to go into it, and you have a chance to be on the input of players. We have cap space, we have picks. We're building a practice site. So everything that I think as a player, you have a chance to really have your blueprint on it. Not a lot of players get that opportunity. So I think we have a great story, and the person that he is and his family, I'm confident that things will work out.
So let's shift a little bit now to the court, okay? You have Brook Lopez, and not to tell Billy King who stays on your team and who doesn't, but Brook Lopez, not a bad center. You've gotten yourself an all-star point guard. What is Billy King thinking, not so much in names, but role players now? What do you have to do to fit the pieces together going forward?
Well, I think if you look at the power forward, I think Chris Humphries is having a career year, and I think he needs to keep doing his job. We have Anthony and Sasha, the shooters. We have Jordan come off the bench, they can shoot. We've got some defensive players. Now Travis now is going to play some four, which he did in Portland. So Damian James is back. So now it's let's see how the guys play. When I traded Allen Iverson in Philadelphia, we got Andre Miller back. And I told ownership, I said, we're going to win more games now than we probably want to for the draft, but Andre Miller will make these guys better players. And that's what Darren's going to make these guys better players. And so now we'll be able to evaluate them and see them in situations. And there's not a knock on Devin Harris, but Darren Williams is a better player than Devin, and I think he'll allow these guys to see what they can do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we don't want to knock anybody, but Devin Harris's style was to come down the floor and make things happen, primarily for himself to get to the basket and all. I mean, your impressions just had to be, when this all came on your table, is like, how can I pass up on this guy? I got to put something together to get him.
Yeah, you know, I look at it, it's almost like you're getting a Peyton Manning or Eli Manning. You're getting a quarterback, and that's what you look at. You get a quarterback, now he makes those receivers better. Yeah, the play action is a little better. Or if you're put in baseball terms, the Phillies, if you have a chance to get Roy Halladay, now the game becomes that, because he goes almost to the ninth inning, so now you don't need as good a bullpen. That's how you look at it, and I think that's what Darren brings for us. There's some areas where you can say, okay, we can be a little deficient in there because we have such a great point guard.
Thanks for not mentioning Cliff Lee on the Yes Network. That was so sharp. That was good.
Well, I didn't want to bring up Cliff or Roy.
Notice how I didn't bring that up and put you on the spot.
Let's talk a little bit. How many other legitimate conversations were you having? I know when you get close to the trade deadline, you're taking phone calls, you're making phone calls. There's a lot happening between you and assistant GM Bobby Marks. How many other legitimate conversations did you have leading up to the deadline?
Well, I had a lot of them leading up to the deal we made, 2 deals we made yesterday. And ironically, I realized we had a press conference set for 3 p.m. today, and the deadline was at 3 p.m. So I took a couple calls right before it came, and I was pretty confident that we weren't probably going to do any other deals because I like where we are now. Now I like to see to evaluate the roster. So the other two guys, Brandon and Dan, they'll be meeting us in San Antonio. That'll give us some depth in the front court. I'd like to see what Brandon Wright can do now, a young player that really hasn't got a chance. So it's going to be a great time for us to evaluate. As Darren said, see if we can make a little push because our schedule is much more favorable. We've played a lot of our hard games already. Now we're in the month of March. The schedule is favorable in April, so we'll see what we can do.
Billy, much appreciated. Congrats.
Thanks. You guys go to San Antonio?
We'll be there.
I'll see you when you get back.
I'm staying.
I think Billy's going to take a nap.
We're going to go lunch.
He deserves it.